Every game, every moment, 96.7 KFAN Plus brings you the men's college basketball tournament driven by Dave Smith Motors. Coverage continues this Thursday. Tune in on the free iHeartRadio app to catch the insanity.
Today. One of those days, man. But that's the worst thing that happens to me today, and it wasn't. I had at least three putts today. That's just not like me, but it was today. We're done with hour number one. We begin hour number two as always with 5, 3, 4.
Time now for 5 questions. Well, actually 3, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
Brought to you by Willow River Company.
Question number 1.
We're gonna win, Twins, we're gonna score.
It's now time to delve deep into Twins territory.
Crack out a home run, shout a hip hooray! Cheer for the Minnesota Twins today.
Aaron Gleeman in The Athletic made 3 bold predictions for the Twins for the 2026 season. They are, number 1, Luke Keeschel is an all-star at 23. 2,
and I'm going to watch him develop. I'm going to go to every game to watch him develop.
2, Matt Wallner leads the Twins in OPS. 3, Mick Abel is the Twins' best pitcher. Common, which bold prediction will most likely come to fruition?
What does OPS stand for?
On base plus slugging. It's basically a power.
Who's going to lead us in that?
Wallner.
I'll believe that when I see
it. Is it Wallner or Vollner?
I think
because it's Volstead.
Ask Walt Rosen. He would know. I think big things have been predicted for Wallner and Larnach for a long time. We just haven't really seen it. We've seen, bits and pieces, small little snapshots.
I would also say, is leading the Twins in OPS really that big of a challenge?
That's true, too. That's awful negative of you, Tim. Let me give you just a little.
Well, same thing with the Keeschel also. I really like Wallner/Wallner's going to have a great season. He's going to hit 30-plus home runs. Same with the thing with the Keeschel. That sounds impressive that he'd be an all-star, but the Twins have to have a representative, so somebody's going to be an all-star off this team. We'll probably have 5 or 6 all-stars because we're going to be one of the best teams in the league halfway through the season.
Now you're starting to sound more like a Pohlad pocket protector. Yeah, they keep predicting big things for Keeschel. I think he's great. Keeschel. And the pitcher, is it Abel? That's him. I've read some, I'm not paying as close attention to Twins, but I've read some nice things about him that they like him. He came over in a trade, I think. I don't think he was one of our homegrown guys. He came in who was the guy? The Louis Varland trade, I think. And we were really high on him. And he's got all the. Of course, I think they write this about every Twins young pitcher.
He was a part of the Joan Duran trade.
All right, there's the one. And it was one of those fire sales.
Well, there was 10 trades.
Right. And he apparently has a lot of upside. But again, baseball more than any other sport seems to have. We got all these, and I don't know if it's just the Twins, if it's only the Twins, or if it's teams all over the league where there's always, we have so much great young talent with so much upside, and then most of that great young talent becomes players that just really never blossom to what we think they might be. And that's why I don't know what to believe. But those are the names, especially Keeschel and Abel, and then they have another young pitcher too that I think they have high hopes for. And I'd love it. I told you, I would love nothing better than to have it keeps you preoccupied. I told you this, Timmy. I watch early in the season just because there's so many 3:00 starts. So I get home at 4:00 in the afternoon. The weather's nice. Kick the windows open, turn on the Twins game, and watch a little bit. Then once they're 2-10, I'm done. So we'll see. You know what? We're going to be 10-2. We're a really good club.
Question number 2.
All Vikings, let's win this game. You'll hear us yell.
Found some Vikings stuff.
It's now time to take an in-depth look at the state of the skull.
That's kind of a rehashed topic, but we'll bring it up anyways because I just saw it again. NFL.com listed all 32 NFL teams' top 5 biggest needs for the NFL draft. For the Vikings, they have defensive line, offensive line, safety, wide receiver, and cornerback. Common, do you agree with their 5 biggest needs for the NFL draft?
Why'd they stop at 5? How about linebacker, running back, quarterback, special teams,
Punter,
place kicker? I'm glad to hear defense and offensive line because I'm now, everybody's opinions change over time, right? Most people's anyways. And mine can. And, I've always kind of believed that games are won in the trenches. But then you kind of go, but you got to pass the ball. I'm just telling you they are. I think if you have a really good, that's where the real work is done. You have 5 offensive linemen battling 4, 5, 6 defensive players trying to protect the quarterback so we can throw the ball downfield or open holes for the running backs. And if you don't have guys that can do that on a consistent level, sorry, you're not going to win a lot of games. Just the way it is. And I don't care that we have Darisaw and we have O'Neal, we like this guy and that guy, and is it the Jackson kid we drafted? You can't have enough offensive linemen. You can't have enough defense. We thought we were stocked at defensive line last year. Thought we were stocked at off. Remember? We went and spent all the money on those interior linemen for both offensive and defense. Where'd that get us? None of them are with the team anymore. I think they're all gone. So this idea that we have to have a safety, and that's an important position. I think Hitman's coming back anyways. I don't think there's any question about that, but I guess we don't know that. And, we need to defend it.
It's still long-term safety would be a need, regardless when he comes back.
Well, sure, I get that, but you know what? If you have a
I think they missed Cam Beasley last year.
I think they did. If you have a fierce pass rushing offensive line, your secondary can be just okay because the quarterback's under duress constantly. Now, it's not going to happen every time. I get that. But you can't have the best secondary and the best defensive line and the best core line. It's hard for one team to have all the variables. I guess unless you're the Legion of Boom. Or what do they call them now in Seattle? They got a new name for
Do they?
Yeah. Soothsayers or doomsayers. There's some nickname for their defense now. But, I think they need help in all of those categories, and especially I think they need help.
Were they the dark side?
Yeah, dark side. I think that's what it is. They need help on the offensive and defensive lines. I think that's where I'd start every draft.
Question number 3. It's time now for multiple choice.
Which headline at ESPN.com would you most likely click on? A, Liv sued by distillery for trademark infringement. B, LA spoils Tiger's return, cruises the TGL title. C, Elite Longevity, Flacco 41 agrees to Cincy deal. D, Schifrin wins record-tying 6th World Cup title. Or E, NBA Players Union calls for 65-game rule change.
The only one I clicked on was the rule change for games. So that would be my answer. They instituted
it actually was the only one I clicked on too, but I thought it was for a different reason.
Oh.
I thought they wanted to switch to just playing 65 games. Like, this is great.
I wish that's what they wanted to do. What it was about was to be eligible for like postseason awards like MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. You have to play 65 plus games. And the reason that they wanted to institute that rules, it's the load management stuff, where it's become almost an epidemic across the league, where players just get time off, and it used to never be that way, and maybe it should have been that way all the time. Maybe giving players time off keeps them fresher for the entire season. I don't believe it. I don't think playing 82 games over 6 months is that big of a deal. I really don't. Especially when it's not like you're playing all four. Unless you're with the Minnesota Golden Gopher men's basketball team, you're not playing all 40 minutes. Or in the case of the NBA, 48 minutes. There's always, you come out for breaks, you have halftime. So there are extenuating circumstances. I can see why they might want to change that, because there are players, I think, that are getting legitimate injuries and they're not hitting 65, but they've been so good at what they do, how can you not consider them? And I think a lot of these guys, not only is it just the award and the prestige and the bragging rights, I think there's probably in a lot of these contracts, everybody's got, incentives of some sort. So, I shouldn't admit this working at the All Sports Station, but I just skimmed the story. I didn't read it, intently, but, I would just say play more games. Just try to play when you're ready. When you're not, you don't need load management unless you are really injured or you're a really old guy. But other than that, I just play.
So. Do a quick one?
Yeah. Sure.
Question number 3. And now it's time to go. In the paint.
The NBA Board of Governors approved a vote to explore bids for expansion teams in Las Vegas and Seattle. The bidding process is expected to generate offers in the $7 to $10 billion range for each team. If Vegas and Seattle is added, how should the league be structured?
Well, they'll both be in the West.
Yeah.
And then the conversation has been, we talked about it while you were away.
Oh, did you?
It's either going to be, more than likely, Memphis or Minnesota moves to the East. We took a look at IHOP longitude, latitude, and changes in attitude. And Memphis is actually further east than Minneapolis is. Not by a lot, by a couple, 300 miles. So I don't know how they'll make that decision. If it will be, I don't think it's strictly on who's closer to the east than the other team. But, right now, I think it is a benefit to be in the West, or the East, right? It seems like almost forever.
Yeah.
The West has been
shorter
so much
travel.
Well, but I mean, the West has had so many better teams.
Yeah.
They're deeper with quality clubs, and then the travel, that makes a difference as well. So, my guess is whatever is best for another franchise, that's the way it'll go, because that's what happens in Minnesota. We never get, anytime there's a situation
it'll
like
be
this,
Memphis.
Yeah, it'll be Memphis. That's it. And so we'll stay in the West.
Though we are closer to Milwaukee and Chicago if you're looking for some rivalry type stuff going on.
Yeah, there is that too. So we'll see how that goes.
And that's it for today's edition of 5 Questions. Well, actually 3 questions, but 5 sounds like more than 4.
My favorite segment of the week, Rock Talk. That's next. Common Man program on the Fan.
Every game is a big game when it's wild hockey. Feel the intensity and excitement at Grand Casino Arena this season. Get your tickets today at wild.com/tickets.
Level 13-14 past. I'm Common. He's Tennessee. Excited and delighted to be joined by Brian Oak for a little Rock Talk. How are you, me boy?
I am doing fantastic. A combination of the weather, a great day. Just recorded one of the most upbeat podcasts in the 560-plus episodes of my podcast.
You have a podcast?
I do. It's called The Brian Oak Show. It's available widely through the iHeartRadio media app thing that they do. Free. You can listen to it whenever you want. No obligation. But yeah, a local legend, one of your colleagues, in fact, in the world of comedy, but also, his claim to fame is he is the best looking man in comedy. He's an icon, literally an icon for the Twin Cities. One Fancy Ray McCloney.
Oh.
Fancy Ray was on the podcast today. Both the mayors of these great Twin Cities that we live in have declared this Saturday with an official government proclamation as Fancy Ray Day. And he's celebrating with a great big comedy cavalcade this Saturday in Northeast. But even if you're not planning on going to that, if you need a shot of positivity or a shot in the arm today of positivity, there's nobody like, I'm still kind of exhausted. He has so much input and so much stimulus. He's an amazing, amazing man. And so I'm fired up from that, man. That's what I know. It's a good day out there. Spring is on the way, or it's really unfolding in front of us. And it's good to be alive.
Ditto. I've had the chance to not hang out with fan, but our paths have crossed on a couple of occasions.
I'm sure. Well, because I mean, he's a big. He gets asked to MC all kinds of events, like Taste of Minnesota last year, and a bunch of other things. And he's an icon, man. There's nobody else like him, and he's funny.
He's a very funny man.
And he is an absolute ray of light in terms of positivity, in terms of community, and he picks out some sweet jams. If you're looking for some really good music, the episode that just dropped, less than an hour ago, episode 563, I believe, of the Brian Oak Show podcast on the iHeartRadio app.
I was looped in on this by a listener, a bass gal, who said, sent me an email last week that said, Common, I listened to your show and I heard you talk about Dave Wagner of Crow Off, and Dave Wagner passed away, the lead singer.
Right.
I've not seen it reported anywhere else.
Well, I didn't pop up in any of my regular places that I follow or subscribe to, but you mentioned it, so I did look it up online. And no, even on the Crow official website, if you try to go to his page, they must be updating it as we speak because you can't get to it. But it's not been widely reported. And I think that speaks a little bit to what Crow was and who Crow was. I mean, Crow obviously was, they were only active from 69 to 73, I think. But as far as Minnesota bands go of the era, probably the biggest band out of Minnesota in the era.
Well, they were, I was talking to somebody you know well as well, drummer guy, Tom Cook. And like he said, back then, when Crow had a big hit, they signed a recording contract. They had a song called Evil Woman Don't Play No Games With Me. That went number 19.
It went to number 19. It was also covered by Black Sabbath on their self-titled debut record, the one with the terribly frightening image on the front. And so, I mean, that's a big deal when one of the leaders of British metal cover your song across the pond, and for a band that a lot of people honestly don't know.
And as drummer guy said, he gave a lot of hope to Minnesota garage bands of that kind of that. You know what? We can do this. We can do this too. Because you see somebody local that's just that you knew. And I saw all sorts of when I've listened to a couple of the songs. Because anytime somebody that I admire, a musician, I go back and listen to their work, right? And when you go there, you'll see comments on the songs. It's like YouTube, for instance, and top up here. I remember when I saw him playing Des Moines opening for whoever, they were this and the other thing. And Dave Wagner had as unique a voice as you'll ever hear. And I've told the story so many times. That's why she even said in her email, she goes, I've heard you talk about Crow at Medina several times because I repeat myself. But it was, I went to go to see Steppenwolf, me and my buddies. Hey, John Kay's coming to town. I was a big Steppenwolf guy when I was a kid. Let's go see it, living in the past.
Right.
And all of a sudden they go, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dave Wagner and Crow. And I'm like, what? I hadn't thought of it in forever. And he was brilliant. His daughter was playing in the band at that time. And
nice.
So he still played sporadically across the upper Midwest. But yeah, he was, and it's funny how, it's just another one of those bands that was really good, but never quite got over the hump to become mainstream and do several record deals and albums like that. And a lot of it, I think, just becomes guys are going in different directions and sometimes it's just the material. But to be able to write, so I was just telling you about a story about a guy that I'd heard the name before but didn't know much about him, but he's iconic. His name is Townes Van Zandt. Died at the age of early 50s. He wrote Poncho and Lefty that Willie Nelson and Merle Haggard took to number one on the country charts back in 1983.
Right.
And he was very troubled, heroin addict, the whole thing. But and he came from a wealthy family. And his dad told him, he said, you ought to you need to start writing your own music. Because you're probably not going to make a big living or get record contracts if you're doing covers. You have an album, you might have a cover or two. Everybody does them, right?
Right.
But you've got to be able to pound out songs. And to me, I mean, I don't play guitar, I don't play the drums, that ain't working, that's the way you do it. But I would think the songwriting part would be more difficult than just learning how to shred a guitar. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't think you're wrong at all. I don't know if how you can quantify what's harder and what's easier, but there's no question that it's extremely difficult to write a song that is not only entertaining and good, it's a toe tapper or it's a heart wrencher or whatever kind of song it is, but then it has to have that sort of secret essence that no one's ever been able to quite distill down perfectly, where it's got a universal appeal or an appeal wider than just a regional thing. Crow, I think one of the reasons they maybe didn't cross over any further than they did, that was still the era. We were kind of coming out of the era of regional hits where all these, there were so many incredible Minnesota garage bands like the Gestures and the Chancellors and dozens, maybe even hundreds. Hundreds, possibly, of incredible bands that locally and regionally, they were the thing. They were what people were going to see. They were even starting to generate some radio interest locally, but they just didn't pop onto the national level. That happens a lot. And to Townes Van Zant's credit, he's one of those guys, that, again, a genuine songwriter that people speak about in hushed and reverential tones. Like he, although not a household name, extremely well respected among music fans, and I would say even more so among music makers.
Oh, absolutely. I watched a video of his last. It was a black and white where he paid Poncho and Lefty. Mm-hmm. And he introduces it by going, he goes, I'm going to play a medley of my greatest hit. just
for one.
Just hit me. Speaking of hits. I was going to say about, a band that you and I share an affinity for, the Cars.
Yeah.
Their story is kind of the same way. There was a disc jockey. This is back in the days when disc jockeys could intersperse music they like. Now the playlists now are so, I think, unless there's other.
Oh, no. I mean, I started, I did 30 years of radio, and other than specialty segments or like a weekend specialty show, I never got to pick any of my own music, not even at a place as legendary and, supposedly DIY as Revolution Radio back in the 90s. I didn't get to pick any of that music. It's all playlisted because we live in an era where you can't afford to have the DJ mucking about and possibly risking your listenership and tuning away, which is why everything's gotten more homogenous and sounds the same, because everything's audience tested to death. But back then, you're absolutely right. DJs could take a flyer on something like, I'm getting a lot of buzz on this, a lot of people calling in. That's why there used to be those campaigns of like, hey, here's our single, make sure you call so-and-so radio station and ask them to play blah. And it's still, rare is the story, but the Cars are a good example where suddenly, if a DJ takes interest in you, it can literally make your career.
She had a cassette with some of their songs and was playing them off a cassette onto the radio, and the people are calling in, who is this? Want to hear this again? And that helped get their career to where it was. It was very cool stuff.
No, radio, obviously, before the proliferation of the internet, radio is where you heard music, unless you were at a record store or you knew a bunch of bands, you found out about music from the radio.
Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we do, we'll come back. I got you. You have another. You're the Grum Reaper.
I am. I got another Angel of Death story for you just ahead. And I promise you, if you don't know his name, you absolutely know his music.
And I have another story that's actually a couple of weeks old now, but I keep forgetting to get your opinion on it. I think it's controversial.
Oh.
And it raises a lot of interesting issues. So we'll do all of that and more, including, do we have a rock rank today?
Obviously.
Rock rank. All that and more here on Rock Talk on the Common Man program on the Fan.
KFAN welcomes some great shows to the Ledge Amphitheater this year. John Mulaney will be there August 22nd. And Blues Traveler and Gin Blossoms will be there September 12th. Get the complete details on all of our upcoming shows on the concert page at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Rock Talk continues. Mark Rosen joins us just before 2. Someone said, did the band Crow come out of South 40? They did indeed. Crow was formed in 1967 by Wagner guitarist Dick Wygand. His brother, bass player Larry, somebody else emailed and said, hey, I used to know those guys. They lived, the Wygands lived right in Richfield, right down to me. A lot of music dudes come out of that era.
Right.
Keyboardist Kink Middlemist and drummer Henry Nels. they played as South 40, and then they changed their name eventually to Crow.
A lot of people lack perspective on why the Beatles matter as much as they do and why they're so important. And they were hardly the only rock and roll band, but they were a band that reached literally every listening ear in the Western world. And half the teenagers who heard them fell in love with the music. The other half said, I can do that. And they decided to form a band.
Right.
Nobody launched more bands than the Beatles. And so this proliferation, this explosion, not just among American teenagers, but in South America, all across Europe, everywhere, people were like, I can do this. And so if you go back and start doing some research on these little one-off or just a few singles type garage bands of the era, it's innumerable. You can never listen to all of them, and they all have that freewheeling spirit of the 60s garage act because there's nothing at stake. You've got nothing to lose. Let's rock and roll and see what we can do. And it's some of it's just brilliantly fascinating and really good.
Stack the Marshall amps as high as you can.
Let's do this thing.
And like I told you, the garage band thing, it's literally that's what they were. My brother played in bands forever.
Of course.
You would go to a guy who had a garage, and you would set up your equipment in the garage. You'd play, much to the chagrin of some of the neighbors.
Or the people who lived there who were like, you can't have your friends leave their drum kit set up, and I need to park my car in there.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
You're also the Grum Reaper.
I am.
What do you have for us?
Angel of Death here to report that we have lost a good one. American singer-songwriter Chip Taylor dead at the age of 86. Now, when I heard the name Chip Taylor, I didn't know who that was. I'm guessing you don't know who Chip Taylor is. I promise you know his music. So Chip Taylor comes out of New York, White Plains, and he is growing up and going to college. And before he decides to get into the music industry, which is something his father had done, he'd wanted to carve his own path. Guess what he wanted to do? And he tried, and it didn't work out, so he ended up relenting and going into the music business. No, but close. He wanted to be a professional golfer.
Oh.
Washed out. Turns out that apparently it is a little harder than it looks, unless, of course, you are the common man who has a better short game than what percentage of the PGA players?
Putters. 50% of I putt better than 50%.
50% of them.
10 to be is at an experience that's not unlike that of a PGA Tour player, according to Paul Charchi, because he shot 74 one time.
Well, nicely done, Tenna.
Very good. Yes, well done.
Well, Chip Taylor goes into the music industry, tries to make it as a singer-songwriter, and it's not really, just doesn't happen for everybody, right? He's out there, he's laying it on the line. He's in the music room every day, laying it on the line. And he just didn't happen for him like it doesn't for the vast majority. However, he kept at it, and he kept writing songs, and he met other songwriters and got into the songwriting publishing world. His very first big hit was a little jam called Wild Thing, which was taken to #1 by the Trogs. Yeah.
Reg Presley, the lead singer.
A lot of other people covered that song, but the Trogs took it to #1. Suddenly he's making mailbox money and is a known name, and people start coming to him. And he would have one other massive hit that was first recorded in the 60s by a couple of artists to some acclaim, but then in the 80s, none other than Juice Newton would cover Angel of the Morning.
He didn't write that.
The guy who wrote Wild Thing also wrote Angel of the Morning. Again, Chip Taylor, dead at the age of 86. No cause of death has been released, but he would go on to write a bunch of other songs that most of us haven't heard of. But his music would be performed by a wild array of different artists over the years. Your Linda Ronstadts, your Marshall Crenshaws, all kinds of people. But really, the two big ones that he wrote that probably kept mailbox, might still be making mailbox money, Wild Thing and Angel of the Morning.
May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace.
Now, we've talked about, I think, this British singer's name has come up on the show before, Morrissey.
Oh,
now, have you seen the latest with Morrissey now?
No, I haven't seen the latest, but I can only imagine because his story is so ludicrous all the time, and it only seems to be getting more outlandish. What do you got for me?
From a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
The British singer Morrissey has canceled a concert in Valencia after being left sleep-deprived.
Of course.
During the city's notoriously noisy Las Fallas Festival. A statement on his website said, having traveled for 2 days by road, Morrissey reached the hotel in Valencia late on Wednesday. Any form of sleep or rest throughout the night was impossible due to festival noise, loud techno singing, and megaphone announcements. The statement went on to say that this experience has left Morrissey in a catatonic state.
Oh, my God.
And he would not be performing because of it.
Even in the 80s, he was an insufferable fop. I can't stand the dude.
That's what you told me.
And as he's gotten throughout the years, he was very notorious even early on. In fact, their most famous album is called The Smiths, the band he was in originally, is called Meat is Murder. So he's always been a very outspoken vegetarian, possibly vegan, I'm not sure. But there have been incidents where at major festivals where he's getting a 5-figure check to show up and play, maybe a 6-figure check in some cases, he has canceled or forced nearby food trucks near the stage to close down if they were cooking meat.
Yeah, that's in this story too.
Of course it is, because he has a way of generating drama where there need be none, but canceling a show because I couldn't get any rest. It's rock and roll, Morrissey. Get out there and play the song. These people have been looking forward to seeing you for months. They've paid a lot of money for tickets, and you're too sleepy to go out and do your show. Unacceptable. And very, very on brand for Morrissey.
He canceled another show back in 2004 because of technical difficulties with his private aeroplane.
Of course he did.
Technical difficulties.
Oh.
In 2014, he canceled again, this time in Warsaw, 25 minutes into his performance, complaining that a spectator had shouted something extremely offensive.
Unbelievable.
So he left the stage. A year later, he refused to perform at a festival in Reykjavik after the organizers denied his request that no meat be served during the event.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with being a vegetarian if that's the choice you make, but that's a personal choice, right? You don't get to inflict it on the world. And he's notoriously difficult, cancels shows at the drop of a hat for what apparently sometimes are just ludicrous. Someone said an offensive thing from the audience. Are you familiar with the phrase from I'm sure it goes back even further than Kit and Caboodle. Are you familiar with the phrase sticks and stones?
Yes, I'm very familiar.
Yeah, so names will never hurt me. So this kind of guy, he's in it for the drama as much as the music, and he did just put a new album out a few weeks ago, and I couldn't care less. Haven't heard a song off it. Have zero intention of pursuing one.
Well, that's what he says. Of the 21 concerts booked this year to promote his new album, Makeup is a Lie, 5 in San Diego, St. Louis, Atlanta, the Dominican Republic, and St. Peter have already been canceled. In one in Rancho Mirage has been postponed. The fanzine, whatever that is, like a
fanzine's like a magazine. Okay. Back in the 80s, before the internet, people would put together, they were real DIY in punk rock. They'd put together fanzines that would talk about all the punk rock bands and where the shows are going to be. And so this would be a fanzine probably specifically about Morrissey.
Well, this one was called We Heart Music. They stole the I Heart thing.
Uh-huh.
The fanzine site We Heart Music calculates that over the course of his career, including his time with the Smiths before going solo, the singer has canceled more than 400 shows, including almost half of the last 100.
Honest to God. There's nothing you need to say about that. The evidence that he is who we thought he was, okay? It's Morrissey. I'm not at all surprised. I'm not even kind of shocked. It's so on brand for who he is. And granted, the Smiths were seminal, and some early Morrissey is pretty important in the development of alternative music. But he hasn't written a song worth listening to in the last 30-plus years. It's over, man. And I don't know. And I get people love what they love, right? And you don't get to pick what you love. And I understand having reverence for him, but just too difficult. I don't want to go to a show and have it be canceled 20 minutes in or find out the night before it's going to be canceled. That must be exhausting being a Morrissey fan.
The story that I'd saved for a few weeks that I kept forgetting to get to, we kind of ran out of time, but Journey is coming back, and they say it's going to be one of those last concerts.
Of course, right? The big farewell.
And who's guitar player guy?
Neil Schon?
Neil Schon. He apparently said, and we think Steve Perry's going to come back.
Really?
Perry came back and said, I'm not going to do it. And my because he's moved on to bigger and better things. But my question for is, I wonder why, what is that, it's like, I'm not, does he really owe it to his fans? But when you've built your career mostly on Journey, and then he's had a lot of success, as a solo
but
artist.
Nothing like his Journey success. Journey is what made him.
Right. And then you say it's going to be, allegedly the one last time they'd like to welcome you back. Wouldn't you, for your fans? I don't think it's incumbent upon him to do it, but I just feel like it's like, why can't, I guess he just doesn't want to, but why can't you go on tour for 10 dates, 20 dates, and just say, let's do it one last time, give the fans, and you would think he would just want to do it. They say the same thing, though, about Robert Plant and Led Zeppelin, too. Right. Why doesn't he want it? And I always wonder, so my question is, I don't think they really owe it to their fan base, but do they sort of, kind of, or not?
It's there are so many different attitudes, and musicians are artists, right? And artists are by very nature not like regular people. They are temperamental. In some cases, where you have earned worldwide accolades and outrageous amounts of personal fortune due to what you've done, there's no way that can't make your ego a little bit bigger.
Sometimes you cancel every other concert.
Exactly. Thank you, Common. For nice circling back there. A callback. That's what I was looking for. So there's going to be ego involved no matter what, right? Especially when we're talking about decades-long careers, all the accolades from the fans. Journey is part of the still beating heart of many people who were my age. When I was a teenager, you heard Journey everywhere all the time. So I think ego plays into it. Also, sometimes, and maybe there was such acrimony that you're like, I will never even look at that person again. I'll never be. Yeah. But even then, for the fans, you might rise above to do it, right? But then also, and I think this is the case in Robert Plant. I can't speak to Steve Perry. I don't know enough about him, but everything I've ever seen about Plant, I don't think it's acrimony. I don't think it's hatred. I think that he genuinely, as an artist, believed that he has moved on. Like Led Zeppelin was important. It was foundational. It made his name and who he was. And man, if people have not seen that Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary, it's a short watch and it is fascinating. But that he's then since moved on to do these other things. And I think he really thinks of himself as Robert Plant, the solo artist. Some bands do. They're like, you know what? If this is the last hurrah, let's give the people what they want, right?
And he's teamed up with Alison Krauss, right? They're doing, it seems like they're almost
duos,
a duo, are they not?
Often they are a duo. Yeah, Allison still does tons of other stuff. Right. But, their efforts as a duo are really what have been his primary, I think, bread and butter for the last, obviously, still probably cashing some decent checks from the Led Zeppelin days.
Tennessee, are you ready?
Always.
Rock Rank.
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 Well, a couple weeks ago, we did your top 5 bands or artists that have geography in their names. Mm-hmm. So we're going to just continue with the geography theme, but we're going to move to songs. You're going to have a lot more options now.
With so many options.
Yeah, this was your top 5 songs with geography in the title.
Well, I want to start out with apologies to you, Tenna, because there are some that you would absolutely put in here that I could not crack into my top 5. So honorable mentions going to Weezer, Islands in the Sun, TLC, Waterfalls, and probably your favorite would be Rainbow's Man on the Silver Mountain.
I thought we were going to do like cities and towns.
No, well, because
that's what I was thinking of.
Night Chicago died.
Oh, well, see, no, then you should have said city names.
California Love.
No, there's not a single city
Africa,
name in here. I intentionally
Sweet Home Alabama.
Geography generally means geographical features. If you'd said city names, we could have done that in a heartbeat.
Cities or countries or continents?
Yeah, no, what I've got, no.
We'll do that next time.
I went with geographical features. So things like hills, rivers, deserts, wastelands, that kind of thing.
Well, that's it. Then my favorite of all time, without question, number one with a bullet, as they used to say in the radio business, is "O'er the Hills and Far Away" by Led Zeppelin. That's my favorite Led Zeppelin song.
It's a genius one. They also have one that would qualify called "The Ocean," which is absolutely brilliant. But I'm guessing your number one, you think it's Led Zeppelin, but it's probably not. It's my number 4 on my list.
Number
so let's dive into my list.
5? So let's do cities and countries and towns and stuff like that next week.
Let's do that. We'll do it next week.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's so fun.
I thought we were going to get California Dreaming, California Love.
See, if we're talking about, but then there are so many, we should break it into 2. Okay. One is cities, one is states. How do you feel about that?
And one North American cities.
Okay, well, we can worry about that after we just
then
do
we'll get
cities
into the
and
galaxy
states.
after that.
Yes. Oh, nice. Planets, solar structures. There's enough of those as well. Planetary bodies. Today it's going to be actual topography, geological features, and at number 5, a song that I remember very well from my coming of age days. And anybody who spent any time and watched even part of one episode of season 4 of Stranger Things knows very, very well. Very unique, iconic British female singer Kate Bush with "Running Up That Hill" at number 5.
Up that hill.
Running up that hill.
Let me ask you this.
Sounds like my career.
Do you guys not watch Stranger Things?
No, I never have.
Oh, well, literally the beating heart, the soul of entire season 4 is Kate Bush's "Running Up That Hill." In fact, it saves young Sam's life.
Can it be man-made geographical features?
Well, those technically are. Yeah. It's not today, but it can be.
Because mine would be roundabout.
Okay.
Yes.
That would technically, that qualifies.
That's another category we'll do in 5 weeks from now.
Let me tell you, the number 4 song on my list, and I guarantee you is the number 1 song on your list. In fact, I know it in my heart of hearts. Look at you. I love that you're, okay. Number 4, the Beatles, Strawberry Fields.
Well, yeah, that would be.
That's pretty good.
I mean, that would.
That's my favorite song of all time.
I was going to say that's got to be your number 1, no matter what the category is.
Yes, you're right.
But it's a field, Strawberry Fields. It's a geographic location.
Do you think if it would have been like Cantaloupe Fields, it wouldn't have worked as well, would it have?
No, but there is a song out there called Cantaloupe Island.
Is there really?
Oh, yeah.
Raspberry would have worked.
What? Yeah, but there's a lot. There's a lot on there. Number 3 as the British Gothic band, pop band, another 80s band that was very, very formative for me growing up. British band by The Cure. You're familiar with The Cure?
Just Like Heaven.
They have an early song called A Forest, which is my single favorite song by The Cure.
Really?
It's called A Forest. It's spooky. It's gothic. It very much evokes the sensation of being lost in a forest. And if you're looking for good, spooky woods, lost in the woods kind of songs, A Forest is a great one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 2?
Number 2?
Ike and Tina Turner. They had many different phases of their career. Tina eventually broke parts and she went off on her own. But when they were Ike and Tina, and when they were at the zenith of their powers, it's a shame Ike turned out to be such a bad dude because he had some incredible chops and really wrote some amazing music. And then you pair that with Tina Turner, and then you put that Phil Spector production on there, River Deep, Mountain High.
River Deep,
coming in at number 2, Ike and Tina Turner. It starts out impossibly epic and only builds from there. It's a great, great song.
Okay. And
number 1.
Number 1.
All right. Well, this one hits close to home. It is a song about the biggest open waterway, the biggest river in the United States of America. And in the opening verse, it gets a name check. Our capital city, St. Paul, Minnesota, gets a name check.
Which one is this?
It's not Mississippi Queen. I know you were about to. You grabbed the mic like you were about to lunge to the front of the stage. You grabbed the mic like Chris Hockey grabs a mic. You lunged in with the rock move.
Well, there's no way whatever song you're going to say is better than Mississippi Queen.
Johnny Cash's Big River? Absolutely, it's a better song. Mississippi Queen is a great, great jam. But Big River talks about how he met her in St. Paul, Minnesota, and then he follows her all the way down that big river. Trust me, everyone out there that's got a little free time where you're sitting around, put on Johnny Cash's Big River, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, Oak was right.
Well, I guess I could say that, but it's hard for me.
Some honorable mentions that didn't make it in here. I've got Beatles' Fool on the Hill. Led Zeppelin, Over the Hills and Far Away is at the very top of my honorable mention. Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle. TLC Waterfalls, as I mentioned.
How about Bungle in the Jungle?
I didn't put that down. No. That's another fine one right there.
What about Jungle Boogie?
Not Jungle Boogie. Oh, another good one. We could do all jungle songs, actually. Many Rivers to Cross by Jimmy Cliff. Dierks Bentley, Somewhere on a Beach, for all you bro country fans. CCR, Born on the Bayou. CCR, Green River. Donovan, There Is a Mountain. Gorillaz, Plastic Beach. Elvis Presley, Island of Love. Granddaddy, The Crystal Lake. Rush, The Trees. I don't like Rush, but I know a lot of people really like them.
In the Stream.
Kenny and Dolly.
What a pair.
Here we go. And then I've got a bunch of other little ones, but like Sting, Fields of Gold, Bruce Springsteen.
I like Fields of Gold.
With Badlands. Yeah, no, it's a great, great song. So there's a million of them. So Willie, next time I'll make sure to clarify, but next week, let's go ahead and just do songs about cities. How do you feel about that? And then states the week after.
Let's just do American cities, because then we can do like an international.
Wow, okay.
International one after that.
You know what this is? This is Rock Talk. Musical travelogue is what we'll be doing with our rock rank over the next few weeks.
We could do? We could actually, we could do.
Here we go.
Towns that are 50,000 or less, 100,000 population.
Small market.
I was born in a small
medium
town.
market, large market, and major market.
Speaking of Rush, Passage to Bangkok is such a great song.
There you go.
The entire I'm not a huge Rush fan either, but you don't have to like Rush, but you do have to respect him.
That's true. I would agree with you on
Peart is
that.
considered one of the greatest. Certainly, you could say he was the best prog rock drummer of all time, but he might be the greatest drummer. One of the greatest.
He certainly had the biggest kit of all time.
And now they're
chimes. Do you like wind chimes?
Yeah, they are starting. another tour, right? At first I think they said we'll never tour because Neil Peart. And then all of a sudden he goes, well, need some money.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And last now it's I can't remember her name, but they've got a gal drumming.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was I was reading a story about it, and like they had her come for rehearsals, and after the first few times, like it was like a week's worth, and they were thinking both Geddy Lee and what's guitar player's name?
Oh, Lifeson.
Yeah, and they basically were saying this ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, on that last day, something happened, and she hit every beat exactly. And they said, well, this is going to work.
Okay.
So she's, but those are some mighty big drum kits to fill.
Because, almost impossible.
Yeah, that's the thing.
She must be exquisite. She must be an absolute genius and at the top of her game. Because again, I'm not a Rush guy, but you have to have respect for all the musicians in there. It's like Steely Dan. I can't stand Steely Dan, right. But you know that everyone in there can play. You know what they're doing when it comes to writing good songs and consistent songs and enduring songs. So yeah, good for them and good for getting back on the road.
Passage to Bangkok is basically a song about they're looking for the best marijuana they can find.
Go
so
on.
They travel all across everywhere. We're on our way to Bangkok. We only stop for the best.
Well, and
they're not going to stop if it's ditchweed.
Yeah.
But if it's really good, we're in.
Well, I mean, you can get ditchweed here at home. The reason you travel for it is you're looking for the good stuff. And that was from an era where it wasn't all hydroponically grown and it wasn't all seedless. So to find the real, to get that loud, you had to travel to the far corners of the mysterious Orient to get your weed.
Boy, did you ever. Always good to see you. And that podcast again is available.
Yeah, the podcast is the Brian Oak Show podcast. Just did a great one today. A couple of big ones coming up next week, and we'll talk about that next week. It is available on the free iHeartRadio app.
We'll see you next week.
I'll
Wednesday.
be here.
Sounds good. That's Rock Talk with Brian Oak. We'll take a break, come back. Mark Rosen joins us next here on The Fan.